You ever have a moment in your life when you realize everything you believed was a lie? When someone you thought loved you, respected you, valued you, suddenly strips away all pretense and exposes exactly what you mean to them. For me, that moment came when my wife, Claire, sat across from me, looked me dead in the eyes, and told me that her brother's life was more important than mine. No hesitation, no second thoughts, just a cold, unwavering truth from the woman I had spent years loving, supporting, and trusting. And I didn't know how to respond. At first, I thought I misheard her. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe she just phrased it wrong. So I repeated it back to her, slowly, deliberately, hoping she'd correct herself. You're saying that Liam's life is more important than mine? She didn't even blink. Yes. I should have felt angry. I should have argued. I should have thrown my chair back and stormed out of the room. But instead, I just sat there, numb, feeling something inside me crack. Because deep down, I realized something that should have been obvious a long time ago. I had never been her priority. Claire had always been devoted to her brother. I knew that. I'd seen the signs. The way she put his needs first. The way she defended him even when he was clearly wrong. The way she pulled money from our joint account without asking, just so she could help him out. I tolerated it because I loved her. Because I thought that's what marriage was. Compromise, patience, understanding. But this was something else entirely. Claire wasn't asking me to consider being a donor for Liam. She wasn't sitting with me, discussing the risks, talking about how much this meant to her, weighing the options together. No, she was demanding it. And the way she said it, so casually, so matter-of-fact, like it wasn't even up for discussion, made my blood turn ice cold. You need to get tested. Not. Would you be willing? Not. I know this is a big ask, but no hesitation, no regard for what this would mean for me, just an expectation, as if my body, my health, my future, none of that mattered, because in her eyes, I was just a convenient option, a backup plan, a tool to be used. I stared at her across the dinner table, the candlelight flickering between us, casting shadows that suddenly made her face look unfamiliar. This woman, the one I thought I knew better than anyone, the one I had built a life with, the one I had once trusted with everything. I didn't recognize her anymore. And the worst part? I don't think she even realized what she had done. She just kept talking, as if the decision had already been made. As if I was going to nod, say of course, honey, and schedule my test the next morning. Because in Claire's world, Liam always came first. I put my fork down, my appetite completely gone. Claire, do you even hear yourself? She sighed, exasperated. Of course I do. Why are you making this into a big deal? I blinked. A big deal? She was asking me to give up a kidney, and she was acting like I was being dramatic? Do you even care what this means for me? I asked. Her eyes narrowed, like I had just said something offensive. Why are you acting like you're the victim here? Liam is dying. I felt my jaw tighten. And what happens if something goes wrong? What if I have complications? What if I need that kidney someday? Have you even thought about that? Her lips pressed together in a thin line. Then she said the words that shattered whatever was left of the illusion of our marriage. Liam's life is more important than yours. There it was. No more pretending. No more disguising it under concern or desperation. Just raw, unfiltered truth. It wasn't just about the kidney. It was about what I meant to her. And apparently, I didn't mean much. I pushed my chair back slowly, standing up. My heart was pounding, but my voice came out eerily calm. I need some air. She rolled her eyes. Oh, for God's sake, don't be so dramatic. Dramatic. That word again. Because in Claire's mind, my reaction, my fear, my hesitation, my concern for my own health was just a performance. I walked out of the dining room and stepped onto our back porch, the cool night air hitting my face like a slap. I needed to breathe. I needed to think. Because I realized something terrifying in that moment. If I said no, Claire would never forgive me. This wasn't just about Liam's health. This was a test of my usefulness. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't sure if I was ready for the answer. You can tell a lot about a person by the way they treat the people closest to them. Some people love unconditionally, Some give and expect nothing in return, and some, like my wife, Claire, love with conditions. I should have seen the signs early on. Maybe it was the way she always took her brother, Liam's, side in every argument, no matter how wrong he was. Maybe it was the way she defended him, justified his mistakes, and excused his behavior, no matter how reckless or selfish it was. Or maybe it was the way she expected me to be understanding whenever Liam made a mess that we had to clean up. At first, I told myself it was just a close sibling bond. That's what Claire always said. He's my little brother. I have to look out for him. And I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Because love, real love, is about making room for each other's family, accepting that you're not just marrying one person but, in some ways, marrying the people who shaped them. I never had a problem with that. But Claire's definition of family had always been skewed. It wasn't just that she looked out for Liam. It was that he always came first. Before me. Before us. Before everything. Looking back, I should have known what I was getting into. The first rail warning came just a few months into our marriage. Liam had just lost his job, again. Not because he was unlucky, not because of some unfortunate circumstance, but because he never showed up on time and couldn't take direction. I remember sitting at the dinner table, enjoying the first home-cooked meal we had made together in weeks, when Claire's phone rang. She picked up, and within seconds, I saw the shift in her expression. What? Oh my God, Liam. Are you okay? What happened? I sighed. Dinner was over. By the time she hung up, I already knew what was coming. He got fired again. I nodded, chewing my food. Why this time? She shot me a glare. Does that really matter? He needs help, and we can't just let him struggle. I put my fork down, my appetite disappearing. Claire, we just helped him last month. He needs to figure this out on his own. She scoffed. He's my brother. I'm not going to turn my back on him just because he's going through a rough patch. Rough patch. That's what she called it. Even though this was the 5th job Liam had lost in 2 years. Even though we had already covered his rent twice and paid off one of his credit card debts. Even though he never seemed to learn from his mistakes. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her that we had to set boundaries. That helping someone didn't mean enabling them. But Claire had already made up her mind. 2 days later, Liam moved into our guest room. She didn't ask. She didn't discuss it with me. She just told me, after the fact, like it was the most natural thing in the world. And I let it happen. Because at the time, I thought this was just who she was, a good sister. A kind person. Someone who cared deeply for her family. I thought it was admirable. I didn't realize then that it was a pattern. You know how they say a marriage is between two people? Ours was never that simple. Because from the very beginning, there were 3 people in our marriage. Me, Claire, and Liam. If we planned a vacation, Claire would invite Liam. If we had an important decision to make, she'd consult Liam before even talking to me. If I needed her support for something, she'd hesitate, because she needed to check if Liam needed something first. It was little things at first. Like the time I mentioned wanting to upgrade my car since mine was breaking down constantly, and she said, maybe later. Liam's car is in worse shape. Or when we were talking about saving for a house, and she told me we should help Liam with his deposit first. Or the time she took our savings, without asking, and used it to cover Liam's back rent. It's just money, she told me when I confronted her. We'll get it back. But we never did. And even when I started to realize how toxic this was, I told myself that it wasn't that bad, that I was overreacting, because Claire was still a good wife, right? She loved me. She cared about me. At least, that's what I told myself. But deep down, I knew. I would always come second. The moment I knew, really knew, that Liam wasn't just her brother, but her priority, it was our 2nd anniversary. I had planned everything, reservations at her favorite restaurant, a weekend getaway at a cabin she'd been wanting to visit, and a small surprise gift I had saved for months to buy. I was excited. But when the day finally came, Claire wasn't. Because that morning, Liam had called her. His car had broken down. He had maxed out his credit card. And instead of spending our anniversary together, Claire spent the entire afternoon on the phone with him. By the time she finally got off, she was exhausted. Maybe we can celebrate another day, she said, giving me a tired smile. She didn't even notice the hurt in my eyes. Didn't even ask if I was okay. Because in her mind, Liam needed her more than I did. I went to bed that night feeling like a stranger in my own marriage. And I hated that feeling. Why it took me so long to see it, I've spent a lot of time wondering why I ignored the signs. Why I let her treat me like an afterthought. Why I let it slide when she made decisions that hurt us, but helped him. Maybe I wanted to believe that she loved me as much as she loved him. Maybe I thought it was temporary, that eventually, she'd put us first. Maybe I was just stupid. But now, as I sit here, replaying the moment she told me that Liam's life was more important than mine, I realize something terrifying. She meant it. I was never her partner. I was never her priority. I was just convenient. And that's when I knew. I had spent my entire marriage loving someone who never loved me the same way in return. You never really know how much you mean to someone until they need something from you. That was the moment of clarity I got when Claire sat across from me, placed her hands flat on the table and said, "You need to get tested. Liam needs a kidney, and you have to help him." Just like that. No preamble. No soft introduction. No, hey, I know this is a big ask, but I really need to talk to you about something important. Nothing. Just an order. I blinked. My brain struggled to catch up. We had just finished dinner, the table still littered with used plates and half-empty glasses. I was expecting the usual post-meal conversation. Maybe something about work, the neighbor's dog barking too much, or her latest Pinterest home project ideas. Not this. I need to what? Get tested? She repeated, slower, as if I was a child struggling to comprehend simple instructions. Liam needs a kidney transplant, and we need to find a match as soon as possible. I stared at her, not because I didn't understand what she was saying, but because I couldn't believe how she was saying it. Like this was already decided. Like my kidney, something literally keeping me alive, was already on loan. Like my feelings, my fears, my health, none of it mattered. I took a breath, trying to stay calm. Claire, this isn't a small thing. We need to talk about. What's there to talk about? She snapped. You're healthy. You have 2 kidneys. You only need one. This could save Liam's life. I rubbed a hand over my face. That's not how this works. Yes, it is, she shot back, her voice rising. People donate kidneys all the time. You'd be fine. And this is Liam we're talking about. Ah, yes. Liam, the center of her world. The brother she had spent our entire marriage prioritizing over everything else. The man who had drained our savings account, ruined our vacations, and interrupted every important moment in our lives. And now, he needed an organ. And of course, I was supposed to provide it. I leaned back in my chair, feeling something ugly curl in my stomach. Not just resentment, something deeper. Claire, do you hear yourself? She crossed her arms. I hear myself just fine. What I don't hear is why you're hesitating. You love me, right? That question. That trap. Because we both knew that if I said yes, she'd throw it right back at me, then prove it. And if I said no, well, then I was just a selfish monster, wasn't I? I exhaled sharply, staring at the table. Claire, this is my body. My health. There are risks. Oh my God, she groaned, throwing her hands up. You sound ridiculous. People donate kidneys all the time, and they're fine. You wouldn't even notice it's gone. Wouldn't even. I clenched my jaw. Claire, this isn't like lending someone $20. This is major surgery. This affects the rest of my life. She scoffed. Liam's life is at risk, and you're sitting here worried about your life? You're unbelievable. And there it was. The moment I realized just how little I meant to her. Because, in her mind, this wasn't even a debate. It was an obligation. Something she had already decided for me. Liam's life is more important than yours, she added, her voice cold. Something inside me cracked. I had spent years making excuses for her, convincing myself that she still loved me, that I mattered, even if I wasn't her first priority. But this wasn't just about Liam anymore. This was about me. And the fact that, to Claire, I was disposable. Wow, I muttered, shaking my head. Wow, she repeated, her tone mocking. That's all you have to say? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You didn't even ask me, Claire. You didn't sit down and say, I know this is huge, but can we talk about it? You didn't say, I know it's your decision, but I just want to tell you how much it would mean to me. No, you just assumed I'd roll over and do it. Her face twisted in frustration. Because it's the right thing to do. I pushed back from the table, my chair scraping against the floor. No, it's the right thing for you. Not for me. She stood up, arms still crossed. I can't believe this. I really can't. How can you be this selfish? Selfish? My voice rose. Because I don't want to be pressured into major surgery? Because I want a damn say in what happens to my own body? She scoffed again, rolling her eyes. You're being dramatic. That word. Dramatic. Like I was throwing a tantrum over something trivial. Like my fears were nothing more than an overreaction. I could feel my pulse pounding in my temples. I wanted to scream at her. Shake her. Make her understand that this wasn't okay. But then I realized, she already knew. And she didn't care. I was nothing more than a means to an end. A solution. A body with a kidney she needed. And if I refused? Well, then I was just an obstacle. I swallowed hard, stepping away from the table. I need some time to think. She snorted. What's there to think about? Either you save my brother's life, or you let him die. I stared at her for a long moment, my chest tight. She didn't realize it, but she had just answered a question I'd been afraid to ask myself for years. Would Claire ever truly choose me? The answer was right there, plain as day. She never had. And she never would. You ever agree to something just because you're too exhausted to fight? Not because you truly want to, not because you believe it's right, but because you know the argument will never end unless you give them what they want? That's how I felt when I finally muttered the words, fine, I'll get tested. Not because I wanted to, not because I thought it was the right decision for me, but because I knew Claire would never drop it. I could see it in her eyes, the same look she had whenever she had already decided something and was just waiting for me to catch up. I was tired. Tired of the accusations. Tired of the guilt tripping. Tired of being told that my hesitation made me a bad person. So, I gave in. The moment I said it, her entire demeanor changed. The tension in her shoulders melted. Her arms, which had been crossed the entire time, finally relaxed. And for the first time since this conversation started, she smiled at me, like everything was suddenly fine, like we hadn't just had an argument that made me question our entire marriage. Thank you, babe, she said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. I knew you'd do the right thing. I didn't squeeze back, because the words, the right thing, tasted bitter in my mouth. I wasn't doing this because it felt right. I was doing it because I felt like I had no choice. And that realization made my skin crawl. That night, Claire was in an annoyingly good mood. She hummed while she cleaned up the dishes. She made herself a cup of tea and sat next to me on the couch like nothing had happened. She even started scrolling through her phone, probably making a mental checklist of what came next. She was already planning it, already moving forward, because in her mind, the decision had already been made. It didn't matter that I hadn't even taken the test yet. To her, I was already a donor. I was already booked for surgery. I was already walking into that hospital and lying on that table. And the worst part? I knew that if the test came back showing I was a match, there was no way out. She would never let me say no. Not without making me feel like the most selfish man on the planet. I sat there, staring at the TV, but I wasn't really watching. My mind was running in circles, over and over, trapped in a loop of what if? What if I did it? What if I gave up a part of myself for Liam? What if something went wrong? What if I had complications? What if, years down the line, I needed a kidney and I had already given mine away? Would Claire take care of me the way she took care of Liam? Would she fight for me the way she fought for him? Or would she look at me the way she did at dinner? Like my health was secondary? Like my existence was expendable? I clenched my fists. I already knew the answer. The next morning, Claire was already making phone calls. She called Liam first. I could hear the excitement in her voice, the way she practically bragged. He agreed. He's getting tested this week. Then she called the hospital, setting up the appointment like she was the one getting tested. Like I wasn't even a factor in the decision-making process. By the time she got off the phone, she was glowing. We're all set, she announced proudly, like she had just booked us a vacation instead of a medical procedure. Your appointment is Thursday at 10. I just nodded. Because what else was I supposed to do? At this point, I was just playing my role. The good husband. The reliable one. The man who always put others first. I told myself I'd go through with the test, see if I was even a match, and then I could decide. But deep down, I knew. If I was a match, the decision had already been made for me. The rest of the week, Claire was the perfect wife. She made my favorite meals. She asked about my day, even when I knew she didn't care about the answer. She kissed me before bed and called me her hero, and it made me sick. Because I knew exactly what she was doing. This wasn't love. This was manipulation. She was making sure I wouldn't back out. Making sure I felt like I was doing something noble, something selfless, something a good husband would do. And the worst part? It was working. Because every time I thought about saying no, I saw Liam's face. Pale, weak, hooked up to machines. I heard Claire's voice. He's my baby brother. I can't lose him. And I felt like a monster. Thursday came faster than I expected. The hospital was cold, sterile, everything smelling like antiseptic. I sat in the waiting room, filling out forms, answering questions, letting them take my blood. Claire sat next to me the whole time, holding my hand, whispering, "I'm so proud of you." I just nodded, staring straight ahead. Because this didn't feel like something to be proud of. It felt like surrender. I told myself I'd have time to think, time to process. But deep down, I knew the truth. If I was a match, Claire would never accept a no. She would never forgive me for it. And for the first time in my life, I wondered, would she even love me at all if I wasn't useful to her? Would I still be her husband? Or just a disappointment? As we left the hospital, Claire was practically bouncing. "They'll call us soon," she said, squeezing my hand. "I just know you'll be a match." I forced a smile. But inside, I was praying I wasn't. Because I realized something terrifying as we drove home. If I was a match, Claire would own me. She would never see me as an equal partner. Never respect my choices. Never put me first. And if I said no, then I wouldn't just lose a kidney. I'd lose my wife. And maybe, just maybe, that wasn't such a bad thing after all. The call came 3 days later. I had been on edge since leaving the hospital, my mind trapped in an endless loop of what-ifs. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart would hammer against my ribs, knowing that any second, my life could take a turn I wasn't ready for. And then, just before noon, it happened. I was in the kitchen making coffee when my phone lit up. Unknown number. Claire was sitting at the table. Scrolling through her phone like this was just another ordinary day. She glanced up at me, saw the caller ID, and immediately set her phone down. "That's them." Her voice was tight, controlled. I swallowed, wiped my hands on my jeans, and answered. "Hello? Mr. Callahan?" The voice on the other end was professional, calm. "This is Dr. Warren from St. Luke's Transplant Center. We have your test results." I braced myself, gripping the counter. "Okay." Claire was already staring at me, wide-eyed. Her hands clasped together in anticipation. "I'm afraid I have some unexpected news," the doctor said. "While you and Liam share some blood type compatibility, the genetic markers in your tests indicate that you are not a viable donor. You are not a close enough match to proceed with transplantation." The tension in my chest began to ease. Relief. Thank God. But then the doctor kept talking. "Additionally, there's something else we discovered during your testing. Based on your genetic markers, we need to inform you that you and Liam do not share a familial bond. You are not related by blood." I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. What? Biologically speaking, you and Liam do not have a close enough genetic connection to be considered siblings-in-law. Your wife and Liam do not share the same father. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. "Are you sure?" My voice came out hoarse. "Yes, Mr. Callahan. We ran multiple checks. Your wife and Liam only share maternal DNA. I understand this may come as a shock, but I wanted to ensure you had this information before we proceeded with any next steps." My hand tightened around the phone. "Right. Thanks for letting me know." I hung up and just stood there. The kitchen was too quiet. Claire was still staring at me, her eyes filled with hope. "Well," she asked eagerly. I turned to face her, and for the first time in my life, I saw my wife not as my partner, not as the woman I had built a life with, but as a liar, a manipulator, a fraud. I took a slow breath, gripping the counter so hard my knuckles turned white. I'm not a match. Her shoulders slumped, disappointment flashing across her face. Oh, okay. We can try looking for other donors. I was really hoping. That's not the only thing they told me, Claire. Her eyes snapped up to meet mine, and for the first time since I had known her, I saw fear. What do you mean? I stepped forward, my voice low, steady. Liam is not your full brother. The color drained from her face. She blinked rapidly, her lips parting slightly. What? You heard me, I said, my voice sharp. You and Liam don't share the same father. The doctor said it's not even a question. The genetic markers don't match. Claire's entire body went rigid. Her mouth opened, then closed. Then, she did something that confirmed everything. She laughed. A small, nervous, disbelieving laugh, like she was grasping for an excuse, a way to spin this, a way to lie her way out of it. That's ridiculous, she scoffed, waving her hand dismissively. The test must be wrong. Those things aren't always accurate. I stared at her. They ran it multiple times, Claire. They're not wrong. Her jaw clenched. I could practically see her mind racing, scrambling to find a way out, some explanation that didn't completely expose the truth. Maybe there was a mix-up, she tried. Maybe Liam had some kind of genetic mutation that, cut the crap, Claire. She flinched. I had never spoken to her like that before, but I was done. Done being played. Done being manipulated. Done pretending that she was the woman I thought she was. Tell me the truth, I demanded. Who is Liam's father? She swallowed hard. Her hands trembled as she pressed them into the table, her nails digging into the wood. And then, she whispered the words that shattered the last piece of respect I had for her. It doesn't matter. I let out a short, humorless laugh. It doesn't matter? No, she said more firmly, looking up at me, her eyes hard now. It doesn't. Because nothing changes. Liam is still my brother, and he still needs a kidney. And you, she stopped herself. But I already knew what she was about to say. And you still owe him that. I took a step back, shaking my head. Wow. It's not a big deal, she insisted. My mom had an affair. So what? That doesn't change the fact that Liam is family. You lied to me. I didn't lie. You let me believe something that wasn't true for our entire marriage. You let me think Liam was your full brother. You let me believe that this was a decision about family. But it was never about family, was it, Claire? Her lips tightened. This was about control. She scoffed, rolling her eyes. Oh my God, stop being so dramatic. I slammed my hand down on the table, making her jump. Don't call me dramatic. My voice was ice. You lied. You manipulated me. You tried to guilt me into giving up a part of myself for a man I'm not even related to. And when the truth came out, you acted like it didn't even matter. She crossed her arms. It doesn't. You were going to do it anyway. I felt something snap inside me. And in that moment, I knew. Our marriage was over. This wasn't about the kidney. This was about trust. And Claire had just shown me, in the most brutal way possible, that I couldn't trust her at all. I exhaled slowly, my hands shaking as I turned away. I need to think. Think about what? She snapped. Liam still needs. I need to think about whether I still want to be married to you. Her mouth fell open, and for the first time in our entire relationship, Claire finally understood that she had pushed me too far. I didn't leave the house that night. I wanted to. Every part of me screamed to walk out that door, get in my car, and drive as far away from Claire as I could. But I didn't. Not yet. Because I wanted answers. I needed them. For years, I had let things slide, brushed off the red flags, convinced myself that Claire loved me, even if her priorities were skewed. But this was different. This wasn't just another case of her putting Liam first. This was a lifetime of deception, and I wasn't going to let her dismiss it. I sat in the living room, hands clasped together, my knee bouncing. Claire was still in the kitchen, probably waiting for me to cool off, waiting for me to realize that I was overreacting and that she could smooth things over with a few well-placed words. Not this time. After what felt like an eternity, she finally walked in. She didn't look remorseful. She didn't look apologetic. She just looked annoyed. "Are you still mad?" she asked, crossing her arms. I let out a short laugh, but there was no humor in it. "Mad? Claire, I just found out that everything I thought I knew about our family, our marriage, was a lie. And you're acting like I'm the one causing a problem." She let out a sharp breath. "It's not a big deal. My mom had an affair. So what? That doesn't change anything." I stared at her, trying to process how someone could be this cold about something so huge. "It changes everything," I said, my voice low. "How?" "You lied to me." She rolled her eyes. "I didn't lie, Claire." I sat forward, my hands gripping the edge of my knees. You knew this whole time, and you never said a word." She hesitated. That tiny flicker of uncertainty in her eyes was all the confirmation I needed. "How long?" I pressed. "How long what?" she muttered. "How long have you known that Liam wasn't your full brother?" She looked away. That was it. That was all I needed. I sat back, exhaling slowly. "You've known for years." Her jaw tightened. "I found out when I was 18. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. She had known since before we even met. And you never told me?" "Why would I?" she shot back. "It doesn't matter. It never mattered. He's still my brother." "That's not the point, Claire." My voice rose, frustration boiling over. "You let me believe something that wasn't true. You let me believe that Liam was family. You manipulated me into thinking this was about loyalty, about doing the right thing for your family. But you—" I stopped myself, shaking my head. "You don't even respect me enough to tell me the truth." She groaned, rubbing her temples like I was the one exhausting her. "I didn't tell you because it wasn't relevant. What difference does it make?" I stared at her in disbelief. "The difference, Claire, is that you tried to guilt me into major surgery for someone I'm not even related to. You used our marriage, our vows, your love." I let out a humorless chuckle. "If I can even call it that, to manipulate me into doing something that could have serious consequences for my health." She threw up her hands. "Oh my God, stop acting like I was trying to kill you. You were going to be fine. It's a kidney. People donate them all the time." "That's not the point," I snapped. "The point is that you don't care about my health. You don't care about my feelings. You don't care about anything unless it benefits you and Liam." Her nostrils flared. "That's not true." "Then prove it." I shot to my feet, my heart hammering in my chest. "Tell me the truth, Claire. Tell me the real reason you never told me about Liam's father." She swallowed hard. For the first time that night, she hesitated. I just didn't think it mattered." I shook my head. "Liar." Her face hardened. "Excuse me?" "You didn't tell me because you knew it would make me rethink everything. Because if I knew that Liam wasn't really your full brother, I wouldn't feel obligated to give him my kidney. You used that lie to manipulate me into doing what you wanted." She said nothing. She didn't have to. Her silence was the confirmation I needed. My chest tightened. I had spent years thinking I had a loving wife, a loyal partner, someone who, despite her flaws, would always be honest with me. But I had been wrong. So wrong. I let out a slow breath, shaking my head. "I don't know who you are anymore." Her jaw clenched. "You're being ridiculous." "Am I?" I gestured between us. "Look at us, Claire. Look at what you've done. This isn't a marriage. This isn't a partnership. This is you controlling every aspect of my life to fit your needs." She scoffed. "I was just trying to save my brother's life. At the cost of mine?" She rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic." There it was again. That damn word. Dramatic. Like I was overreacting. Like I was making a big deal out of nothing. "You know what?" I said, my voice dangerously calm. "I think I'm done talking." She narrowed her eyes. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm done trying to reason with someone who doesn't respect me, who doesn't value me, who doesn't love me the way I deserve to be loved." For the first time, real fear flickered across her face. "Wait, you don't mean—" I turned away. "I need space." "No, you don't." She reached for my arm, but I pulled away. You're overreacting. You just need time to think. Once you calm down, you'll see that I was right. I exhaled sharply, looking at her one last time. I don't think I'll ever see you the same way again. I walked upstairs, grabbed my overnight bag, and packed whatever I could in 5 minutes. She followed me the whole time, still trying to spin the situation, still trying to make me the bad guy. But I wasn't listening anymore. Because for the first time in years, I finally saw her for what she really was. And I knew I couldn't stay. I didn't storm out that night. I wanted to. Every instinct told me to slam the door, get in my car, and leave Claire standing there, still spinning her lies. But I didn't. Because I wasn't just going to walk away quietly. She had spent years manipulating me, controlling the narrative, making me feel like the problem. And now, she was about to learn what it felt like to be exposed. The next morning, I packed a small bag and drove straight to my parents' house. The second I walked in, my mom took one look at my face and frowned. "What happened?" she asked, setting her coffee down. I didn't sugarcoat it. I told them everything. The way Claire had demanded my kidney like I was nothing more than an organ donor on standby. The way she manipulated me into thinking I had no choice. And finally, the revelation that Liam wasn't even her full brother, that her entire plea had been built on a lie. My dad sat in silence, his expression unreadable, while my mom's face twisted in horror. "She lied to you about something that big?" she whispered. I nodded. "For our entire marriage." My dad exhaled sharply. "And when you confronted her?" I let out a humorless chuckle. She acted like it didn't matter. Like I was the one making a big deal out of nothing. My mom shook her head. "That woman has no soul." "That's not even the worst part," I muttered. "She would have let me go through with it. She would have watched me go into surgery, knowing that I was sacrificing my health for a man who wasn't even my brother-in-law. And she never would have told me the truth." Silence. Then my dad finally spoke. "People like Claire don't stop until they're forced to. You know that, right?" I clenched my jaw. "I know." "Then what are you going to do about it?" I met his gaze, my decision already made. I'm going to make sure everyone knows the truth. The first person I told was the man I almost gave my kidney to, Liam. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because he deserved to know what kind of person his sister really was. When I showed up at his apartment, he looked surprised to see me. "Hey man, you okay? Claire said you were freaking out about the transplant." Of course, she did. I took a deep breath. "Liam, there's something you need to know. And it's going to change everything." I told him. Everything. The test results, the genetic markers, the truth about his father. At first, he laughed. "You're joking, right?" But when he saw the look on my face, the smile vanished. "No," he muttered, shaking his head. "No way. That's not possible. Claire and I," he stopped, running a hand through his hair. "She would have told me." I gave him a sad smile. "Would she?" Silence. I watched the reality settle over him. Then he did something I hadn't expected. He grabbed his keys. "I need to talk to my mom." I stepped aside, letting him pass. "You should. And while you're at it, ask Claire why she let you believe this lie for your entire life." He left without another word. I didn't go back home after that. Instead, I sent Claire a single text. "The truth is out. Deal with it." Then I did something Claire never expected me to do. I told our friends. Not out of pettiness. Not to be vindictive. But because I refused to let her control the narrative any longer. She had spent years making me feel like I was crazy, like I was selfish for questioning her devotion to Liam. She had painted me as the unreasonable husband, the one who just didn't understand how important her brother was. Well, now everyone would understand what was really going on. I didn't blast it all over social media. I didn't make a dramatic post or call her out online. Instead, I made phone calls. I met up with people. I told the truth. And the truth spread like wildfire. The first real consequence came when Claire's own family turned against her. Her mother, who had been so sure she had taken her secret to the grave, was suddenly at the center of a scandal. Liam, still reeling from the truth, demanded answers. And Claire? She had nowhere to hide. She tried to control the damage. She tried to spin the story. The test must be wrong. He's just doing this to get back at me. It's all a misunderstanding. But no one believed her. Because the evidence was right there. Because I had proof. And because for the first time in her life, she wasn't the one in control. It didn't take long. A few days after the truth came out, Claire showed up at my parents' house. I almost didn't answer the door. But I did. Not because I wanted to see her, but because I wanted her to see me. The man who was finally done being manipulated. She looked terrible. Her hair was a mess. Her eyes red-rimmed from crying. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice small. I crossed my arms. "About what?" She swallowed hard. You shouldn't have told people." I laughed. A dry, humorless sound. "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I ruin your perfect little lie?" "It wasn't like that," she whispered. "Then what was it like, Claire?" She didn't answer. Because she had no answer. I let out a slow breath. "You know what the worst part of all this is?" She looked up at me, hopeful. "That we can fix this?" I shook my head. "That I actually loved you." Her face crumpled. "Please, just let me explain." "No," I said simply. "I've spent too many years listening to your explanations. I'm done." And with that, I shut the door in her face. For the first time in years, I felt free. And Claire? She was left with nothing. Just like she deserved. There's something satisfying about watching a liar's world collapse. I didn't feel guilty. Not when I saw the texts start flooding in from mutual friends. Not when I heard from Liam, who was still in shock, trying to process the fact that his sister, his trusted sister, had lied to him his entire life. And definitely not when I found out that Claire had become a social pariah practically overnight. Because here's the thing about people like her. They only thrive when they control the narrative. And for the first time, Claire wasn't in control. Claire had always been the type to keep up appearances. She had a carefully curated circle of friends. People she liked to impress. People she needed to think she had the perfect marriage, the perfect life. But when the truth about her deception spread, people started seeing her for what she really was. A manipulator. A liar. A woman who tried to force her husband to give up a kidney for a man he wasn't even related to, and then acted like he was the villain when he hesitated. The first betrayal came from her closest friend, Melissa. I got a text from her out of nowhere. "Melissa, hey, I just wanted to say, I had no idea Claire was doing this to you. I'm so sorry. If you ever need anything, let me know." Melissa had been Claire's best friend since college. They were inseparable. And yet, even she wanted nothing to do with Claire now. More texts followed. "Tom, dude, what the hell? Claire actually said that to you? That your life didn't matter as much as Liam's? Hannah, I honestly thought you were overreacting when you said Claire put Liam first. But this is insane." Claire tried to do damage control. She tried to text everyone back, spinning new lies, telling them I was blowing things out of proportion. But no one was buying it. Because for once, I had receipts. And Claire? She had nothing. But the real damage wasn't just with friends. It was with her family. Liam, still shaken, went straight to their mother to demand the truth. And that's when everything really fell apart. I heard from Liam a day later. "She lied to me, man." His voice was hollow over the phone. "My whole life she lied." Their mother had confirmed it. Liam's father wasn't the man he had grown up believing was his dad. He was the result of an affair. A secret their mother had buried. A secret Claire had known since she was 18 but never told him. "She had no right," Liam muttered. "She didn't just lie to you," I said. "She used that lie to manipulate everyone around her." He exhaled sharply. "Yeah. And now? I don't even know if I can trust her." And that was Claire's real punishment. Not losing our friends. Not losing me. But losing the one person she had always prioritized over everything else. Her brother. A week after everything blew up, Claire showed up at my parents' house again. I almost didn't answer. Almost. But curiosity got the better of me. I opened the door to find her standing there, looking wrecked. Dark circles under her eyes. Hair messy like she hadn't slept in days. Her usual polished, put-together look? Gone. She was clutching her phone in one hand, her other hand trembling slightly. "Can we talk?" she whispered. I folded my arms. "Why?" Her lips parted, but no words came out at first. Then she swallowed hard. Because I need to fix this. I almost laughed. Fix this? I repeated. Claire, there is no fixing this. You lied to me for years. You tried to guilt me into major surgery without telling me the full truth. And then, when I confronted you, you acted like I was the problem. She flinched. I didn't mean, you did. My voice was flat. You meant every word. You didn't even care how this would affect me. You only cared that I said no. She let out a shaky breath. I messed up. I know that. But, no buts. I cut her off. She looked at me, desperation flickering in her eyes. I lost Liam. I raised an eyebrow. Oh. She nodded, pressing her lips together. He won't return my calls. He won't answer my texts. He said he doesn't trust me anymore. Good. Her eyes snapped up. What? Good, I repeated. Because you don't deserve his trust. Her face crumpled. I was just trying to help him. I scoffed. No. You were trying to control him, just like you tried to control me. A tear slipped down her cheek. I didn't think this would end like this. Yeah. I tilted my head. How did you think it would end, Claire? That I'd just roll over and do what you wanted? That I'd give up my kidney and never find out the truth? That I'd just accept that you saw me as disposable? She shook her head, more tears spilling over. I love you. Her voice broke. I do. Please, just give me a chance to make this right. I let out a slow breath. You don't love me, Claire. Her lips trembled. Yes, I do. No, I said calmly. You loved what I could do for you. You loved having control over me. But you never loved me the way a wife should love her husband. Her shoulders sagged. She knew it. We both did. I stepped back. We're done. She sobbed. Please. Goodbye, Claire. And with that, I shut the door in her face. For the second time. And this time, I didn't feel anything. Not guilt. Not regret. Just relief. Because she had finally lost the one thing she never thought she would. Control. The silence after slamming that door was deafening. I stood there for a moment, my hand still on the doorknob, listening to the sound of Claire's quiet sobs outside. I thought I might feel something. Anger. Sadness. Maybe even a shred of guilt. But I felt nothing. Not anymore. She had spent years molding me into someone who bent to her will, someone who sacrificed without question. And for the longest time, I let her. I convinced myself that love meant giving until there was nothing left of me. But now, I understood the truth. Love wasn't about control. It wasn't about who could sacrifice the most. And for the first time in my life, I was choosing myself. I didn't go back to our house. It wasn't mine anymore, not really. Every inch of that place had been controlled by Claire. She picked the furniture. She decided where things went. She even controlled what food we kept in the fridge, what brand of toothpaste we used. It had never been our home. It had been hers. And I had just lived in it. So instead of driving back there, I stayed at my parents' house. They didn't ask for details. They didn't need to. My mom just made me coffee. My dad handed me the remote, and we sat in silence as I tried to process everything. What now? My dad finally asked. I took a deep breath. Divorce. The word felt right. It felt necessary. Because no matter how much Claire begged, no matter how many apologies she threw at me, the truth was irreversible. She had never loved me the way I had loved her, and I would never trust her again. The next morning, I called a lawyer. I half expected Claire to start a war over it. But to my surprise, she didn't. She agreed immediately. No drawn-out fights. No desperate pleas. Just a quiet, clipped fine. At first, I was relieved. Then I realized. She wasn't giving up. She was calculating. Because Claire never lost gracefully. If she was walking away this easily, it meant she had already decided how to spin the story in her favor. It didn't take long before I heard what she was telling people. That I had abandoned her when she was at her lowest. That I refused to help Liam because I was selfish. That I had ruined our marriage by not being understanding of what she had been going through. I should have seen it coming. Claire had spent years manipulating the people around her. Why would she stop now? But this time, I wasn't going to sit back and let her rewrite history. I didn't go on a public rampage. I didn't make angry social media posts or try to get even. I just told the truth to the people who mattered. When mutual friends reached out, I gave them the facts. Claire asked me to give up my kidney without telling me the full truth. She knew Liam wasn't her full brother, but she kept it from me because she thought it would make me hesitate. She lied. And when I found out, she acted like it didn't matter. One by one, people saw her for what she was. Even people who had once blindly defended her started to distance themselves, because there was no excuse for what she had done. A month passed. I moved my things out of the house. I got my own apartment, a place that finally felt like mine. And for the first time in years, I breathed freely. Then, one night, Claire called. I stared at her name on my screen, debating whether to answer. Then, against my better judgment, I picked up. Hello. She exhaled shakily. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I said nothing. I didn't mean for things to get this bad, she continued, her voice unsteady. I never wanted to hurt you. I let out a quiet laugh. You never wanted to hurt me? Claire, you spent our entire marriage prioritizing someone else. You told me, to my face, that Liam's life mattered more than mine. And now you're sorry? Silence. You never loved me, I said finally. That's not true, she whispered. It is, I said. You loved what I could do for you. You loved that I made your life easier. You loved having control. But love? Real love? That's not what we had. She sniffled. I miss you. No, Claire, I said softly. You miss having power over me. She let out a quiet sob. Can we at least try? Can't we fix this? I shook my head, even though she couldn't see me. There's nothing left to fix. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I meant it. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't bitter. I was just done. Claire didn't call again after that. She knew that I wasn't going to be manipulated anymore. Knew that I had finally, completely walked away. And honestly, it felt good. I had spent years living in someone else's shadow, sacrificing my own happiness for a woman who never saw me as an equal. But now, I was building something new, something that belonged only to me. And for the first time in my life, I didn't regret a thing.